Time, I would like to introduce our honored guest. Each year, our AOA chapter invites a nationally known speaker to attend our banquet and deliver the annual AOA lecture to the medical school and hospital at large. This year, our invited speaker is Dr. Paul Fine. Dr. Fine is from our Department of Internal Medicine. He earned his undergraduate degree at Harvard and then came to Michigan for medical school, where he was elected to AOA in 1988. He stayed at Michigan for his residency before joining the faculty in 1993 as a clinician educator. As a clinician, Dr. Fine received the Gradwell Art of Primary Care Award, was selected for the inaugural class of our Department of Internal Medicine's Clinical Excellence Society, and recently was honored with the medical school's Lifetime Achievement Award in Clinical Care. As an educator, he has received more than a dozen awards, including the Kaiser Permanente Award for Excellence in Clinical Teaching and the Society of General Internal Medicine National Award for Innovation in Medical Education. He is also the only 3-time recipient in the 88-year history of the Galen Silver Shovel Award for Outstanding Clinical Teaching. He has given keynote speeches for U of M's Gold Humanism Society and White Coat Ceremony. Outside of work, Dr. Fine enjoys spending time with his family, writing poetry, and composing piano music. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to our invited AOA speaker, Dr. Paul Fine.
I got news for you. I am not a nationally known speaker at all. So thank you, Tosin. And I'll get my notes here. I'll point out as well that I've been trying to get over a cold this week, and so we're going to see if I can get through this with minimal coughing and hopefully an intact voice. So the speech might be 2 minutes long if my voice gives out. Well, good evening again, and a warm congratulations to all of you who are being inducted this evening. I am truly humbled to be here with you tonight. I have to admit I was very surprised for 2 reasons when Dr. Norman reached out to me and asked if I might be this year's visiting professor. First, I'm not nationally known, and I don't consider myself nearly prominent enough to merit this honor. And second, from where am I supposed to be visiting? As Kara said, I've been here for almost 40 years. I had thought of temporarily moving back in with my mom in Ohio, just so I could drive up today and claim that I was visiting. In 2020, AOA amended its constitution to emphasize some characteristics of what they refer to as excellent physicianship, including caring, proficiency in the doctor-patient relationship, compassion, and empathy. I applaud wholeheartedly, and I'd like to spend my time with you tonight explaining why I do. I should be able to finish by midnight. In our profession, we hear a lot about evidence-based medicine, a concept so important that it has its own catchy shorthand, EBM. As you know, it's a systematic approach in which doctors' decisions are guided by the best available evidence from clinical research. The idea is that we apply the research results when a given patient is sufficiently similar to those who participated in the studies. But EBM can't serve as the only basis for advising that patient. We need to add something just as important, what I like to call relationship-based medicine, a crucial part of our profession long before EBM was a possibility. You see, the eventual plan must be determined by doctors and patients together, and that requires a relationship through which physicians learn about their patients' values, priorities, and constraints. And I'm sure you can easily see a fundamental difference emerging. Evidence-based medicine is built on the ways in which patients are similar to others, specifically to study participants, whereas relationship-based medicine requires the discovery of how patients are different from others, identifying the qualities that make them unique individuals. There's another important difference, one that is very meaningful to medical students. With evidence-based medicine, it takes a while to become confident and capable. There's a lot to learn. But with relationship-based medicine, students can excel immediately. Even when their clinical knowledge is still very much a work in progress, they can relate to patients with the empathy, respect, and genuine interest that constitute the core of relationship-based medicine. And I'll tell you something else. Often it's these traits that patients appreciate the most. Obviously, they desire and deserve clinical proficiency from any physician with whom they interact. But trust me, they remember the person who takes time with them, treats them with kindness and concern, makes eye contact, and patiently explains things in terms they can understand. For the most part, they enjoy seeing the doctor or the medical student as a person with whom they can make a connection, valuing warmth and personality over sterile expertise. Think of it as if you are prescribing a style for each patient based on the important ability to read the room accurately and quickly. It's true that some patients will want to see you as a white-coated authority figure who speaks in calm, measured tones, but most like a sense of humor and some sharing of common interests. You're not play acting, you're just emphasizing distinct parts of your personality for different patients. As a primary care doctor, I find it noteworthy that when patients tell me about visits they have had with a new specialist, they generally start with an assessment of that doctor's style of interaction. And thus, your conversations with patients need not be restricted to health issues. In fact, sometimes it's better that the medical topics be put aside for a few minutes. Patients with severe long-term conditions are forced to spend a lot of time thinking about the disease, being asked about the disease, and being advised about the disease. They might easily get the impression that other people regard them merely as a repository of the illness. Consider a woman admitted to the hospital for ongoing treatment of lung cancer. When we choose to talk with her first about almost anything but the cancer, family, hobbies, the book she's reading, it isn't wasting time on trivialities. It's actually therapeutic, an opportunity for her to be viewed and to view herself as the person she has always been. It's remarkable how often I've seen a patient's demeanor change dramatically after such seemingly off-topic discussions. Suddenly there is greater animation, with more eye contact, more smiles. The deepening of our connection in such moments is actually palpable. What about the clinicians? We benefit too. Relationship-based medicine makes what we do more enjoyable and rewarding. I am a proud idealist. But whenever that idealism is threatened by some of the more challenging aspects of the job, I focus my attention on the wonderful relationships that I have with my patients. Sure, we have diabetes to manage and aches and pains to sort out, but when I look at the patient list each day, I have the pleasure of anticipating conversations, even if brief, about vacations, children, music, football, you name it. We have inside jokes. Sometimes we have tearful goodbyes. Many patients won't tell me how they're doing until they have first asked about me and my family. I have some who won't do anything that a new doctor recommends without first running it past me, a doctor they already know and trust. Yes, I said at 9 p.m., I think you should allow the emergency department doctor to place an NG tube for your complete bowel obstruction. I have received wonderfully sweet messages of gratitude, sometimes from patients I thought I hadn't helped very much. That says a lot about relationship-based medicine. We clinicians also get something subtler, something that is sometimes elusive, assurance at the time that we really are making a difference. That's not always true with evidence-based medicine. Here's a primary care example. Statin cholesterol-lowering therapy and optimal glucose control have both been proven to help reduce adverse events in large groups of people with diabetes. It's straightforward EBM. But it's not an individual guarantee either way. One patient can have these interventions and still have a bad outcome, and another might do well without them. Therefore, with EBM, sometimes all doctors can know is that they have helped to make a favorable outcome more likely, not that a given patient has definitely benefited. That's too bad. Wouldn't it be uplifting to get this phone call from a patient? Hi, I just want to let you know that today is the day I would have had a heart attack had you not given me statin therapy and the wonderful control of my diabetes. Thanks so much. Sadly, that call does not come. But with relationship-based medicine, one can usually count on some positive feedback. Most of us can tell quickly if an interpersonal encounter is going well, if a patient seems to be getting more relaxed and engaged. Or consider this scenario. Our hospital team has just spent an hour astutely analyzing a patient's complex medical issues, and we go eagerly to share our recommendations. But when we arrive, he looks unwell and tells us that he's chilled and has trouble talking because his mouth is so dry. Now, if we're willing to change our perspective and consider what's most important to him at that moment, shouldn't we postpone the discussion and go find him an extra blanket and a cup of water? He could call for the nurse, of course, but we're there. We can get to it immediately. And if we do it, we'll get the satisfaction of knowing unequivocally that we made a difference, because small acts of kindness and comfort make a difference. One final distinction between EBM and relationship-based medicine is worth noting. Evidence-based care must change, naturally, as the evidence changes. But there's a pleasing security in knowing that the New England Journal of Medicine is never going to publish a randomized trial that proves we have been wrong all of these years about what we consider the optimal way to relate to our patients. Once you get it right, it stays right. Now, let's be realistic. Optimal relationship-based medicine takes time, which is often in short supply, but it's important to try. You see, emphasizing the relationship helps us remember that doctors have one of the few jobs for which an average day can be a once-in-a-lifetime experience for the other person. Consider first the cast of a hit Broadway musical you're about to see. They recite the same lines and perform the same songs several times every week. So for them, it's just another day at work. But they still need to make that night's performance transcendent and unforgettable for you, even though it's likely that they won't remember any of it. Here's a medical example. When my daughter was hospitalized, she had a particularly difficult day that was made much better by the kind attentions of a wonderful nurse. When I thanked her, I said, when someone asks how your workday was, I bet you're going to say, just routine, nothing special. But it wasn't routine for us. And we will always remember your professionalism and kindness. I'm sure many of you also recall exceptional care provided to you or your family members. And, unfortunately, some of you may have seen healthcare professionals who just seem to be going through the motions. In medicine, we have the privilege, and often daunting responsibility, of working with people during transformative moments of their lives, moments that are often among the most stressful and consequential they will ever have. However routine these days may seem to us, we must recognize that they are exceptional for our patients and act accordingly. And what about the days that we don't see as routine? They can be exciting, often involving sophisticated detective work and intellectual stimulation. Unfortunately, we may get so caught up in solving the puzzle that we forget that the puzzle is attached to someone's life. Here too, relationship-based medicine helps by reminding us that patients are people, not just aggregations of data that we get to analyze. But we also need to remember that doctors, like patients, are people, first and foremost, and that's okay. In fact, sometimes that's all a patient really needs. I encounter many situations, especially when patients tell me about burdensome stresses in their lives, that seem to call for me to respond the way any kind person would respond to another individual's distress, in a manner that is more personal and less clinical, more Paul and less Dr. Fine. Compassionate medical care is fundamentally about one person's caring response to another. We don't even need medical training or a white coat to accomplish that. In my view, our white coats represent just the right blend of evidence-based and relationship-based medicine, even though the tag on the back of mine insists that it's 80% polyester and 20% cotton. I've even come to appreciate a symbolic meaning in the white fabric. You see, we live in an era of disease advocacy, with many conditions now represented by ribbons of a certain color, each designed to heighten public awareness and to foster a supportive community for those affected. Red for heart disease, purple for pancreatic cancer, etc. one site I found listed 502 different examples. Might someone feel overlooked because there's no way for us to acquire and display all 502? But I look at it like this. White light refracts into all of these colors. We can think of the unadorned whiteness of a coat as having within it the entire spectrum of ribbon colors, a rainbow of compassion for those with any health concern. All this sounds pretty idealistic, I know, but this is a day for idealism. In fact, this is a profession for idealism. Medical students often come in full of such notions, only to have them eroded somewhat by the demands and the culture of clinical medicine. Let me encourage you to try to fight against that tendency. Imbue your sense of purpose with some elasticity so that it won't be displaced too long by the stress that this work inevitably produces. Idealism isn't naivete or a denial that these professional stresses exist. On the contrary, I have found that it helps me, on the hard days, to remember why I chose a career in medicine and what I hope to accomplish when I first put on a white coat as a student almost 40 years ago. When I take off that coat for the last time, I know it will be the relationships that I miss the most. If you'll indulge me, I would like to close by sharing with you the lyrics of a song that I wrote back in 2010, just because I believe they echo well those values noted in the AOA mission statement. The song is called the Hippocratic Ode, and it's an intentionally hokey look at what an idealistic doctor might say to a prospective patient. Why just the lyrics? Well, I could say that it's because I don't have a piano here, but the real reason is that exposing you to my singing voice, especially today, would violate first do no harm. We live these days in a skeptical age, captured and kept in a cynical cage, harried and hurried, wary and worried. We need a reprieve. We need to believe. I located a door, a release from that cage. In the book of my outlook, I turned a new page. I made it my mission to be a physician, and I have a proposal to offer to you, a lyrical statement of what I will do. I'll be your doctor. If you're realistic in what you expect, I'll try every visit to earn your respect. I'll take time to know you and make it my plan to listen with kindness and do what I can. Yes, I'll be your doctor. I can't offer miracles, health on demand, or assurance that all will be just as you planned. I'll pledge to you merely my effort sincerely, to value whatever's important to you, to have the right motives in all that I do. I'll be your doctor. I can't promise a cure, but I promise to care. When you're looking back, you will know I was there. I'm still just a person, but one who will try, one who can smile, and one who can cry. Yes, I'll be your doctor. Thank you very much.